Okay, another video from chapter 12, and this one will be just on adding and subtracting polynomials, which then talks about like terms and things. So again, just pause the video and write the problem down, and then you can work it with me. You can also work it, you can pause it, you can work the entire problem, and then you can watch my explanation and make sure that you're correct. So this will be a pretty short video. I'm just going to do a few examples. So adding and subtracting, adding is the easiest, of course, because we already have everything written and all we're doing is combining terms. These parentheses do not mean multiplication. They're a grouping symbol, but because I'm adding, they don't really do anything. Remember that in order to keep our signs straight, really strongly suggest that you change your subtractions to add the opposite, so that you can get your signs correct as you go. So all I do is I just start with, over here in the first one, I see a 7x squared, and I just look through all the terms and see if I see another x squared. So I have 7x squared, and you can do the underline thing if you want, or there's not that many terms, just look at them. I have 7x squared plus 2x squared, so that means I have 9x squared. Just remember that adding is like dumping a bunch of stuff on a table, separating all the things that are alike and counting how many you have. So the label does not change. You don't do anything to the label. So there's 9x squareds when I put them together. Then I have negative 4x, and I have a positive x, which remember, put a 1 there if it helps you out. So negative 4x plus 1x is going to be plus a negative 3x. Again, use your calculator if you struggle with positives and negatives. Then I have 8 plus negative 9. So that's just going to be plus negative 1. And remember that you have to put plus signs just between all the terms. And that's all there is to addition. So addition is the easy one. Now let's look at number 2 again. Just pause the video and you can write that problem down. So when we do subtraction, the thing we need to remember is, just like over here, subtracting is adding the opposite. The thing to be careful about is here we are subtracting all of these terms, not just the first one. So we can change it to adding the opposite, but we have to opposite all of these things. Okay, so you can make it add, but then when you opposite, I take the opposite of this one, the opposite of this one, and the opposite of this one. So you just change all the signs here and change it to addition. And now we just combine all of our terms together, just like what we just did. So it's very simple. Just look again for what's alike. So here I have 4y squared, and here I have plus 5y squared. That's why changing the signs means I don't have to think about whether I'm adding or subtracting or whatever. There's 4 plus 5. So there are 9y squareds. Again, adding things together is just like dumping stuff that's the same. Then I'm going to change this subtraction right here to add the opposite. So I'm careful with my sign. Now it doesn't matter really what order you write any of this in. So you can just go ahead and find the like term with this one. But I'm just going to look through and notice, oh, I also have a y term, but I don't have one up here, so I'm just going to have that plus negative 6y. And then I have my 2 constants. That's all I have left. I have negative 9 plus 2, so that's plus negative 7. And again, just remember they're polynomials, so you just put plus between them. And remember, it's that, you can write that, or means it doesn't matter which one you do. You can write it that way, or you can write 9y squared minus 6y minus 7. Either one of those perfectly fine. Doesn't matter which way you write it. Whichever one makes sense to you. Okay. So number 3 is just the only thing we have to be concerned about is when we're doing subtraction and they tell you to take to do something with polynomials, I got to be careful about the order. So the word from is what's important here, because they're telling me to subtract this one in front from this second one, which means that the second one gets written down first, and then you are going to subtract the first one, because we're supposed to subtract it from. And those parentheses have to be there because it didn't say subtract part of the polynomial, it said subtract the whole thing. Okay, so we have to subtract all of it. So now we're going to go through, now that it's written like this, it's just like the last problem. So we're going to go through, I'm going to change this to add the opposite. And then this subtraction again means add the opposite of all of these. So change it to add, and then you have to do the opposite for each one. And they were all positive, so they all just become negative. And now all I have to do is see what I have that's alike. So my first term is 6a squared, and then over here I have another a squared term. So I have 6a squared plus negative 7a squared. So that's going to be a negative 1a squared. And then I have an ab term right here. And I have another ab term. So they're alike because the variables are the same and they have the same powers. They're both just ab, ab. So I have 7ab plus negative 7ab, and that's going to be 0. You can write plus 0 if you want, or just don't write anything because plus 0 isn't going to change anything. And then plus, and I have a b squared term, and I have another b squared term. So I have negative 5b squared plus negative 6b squared. So that's negative 11b squared. Now, to clean this up a bit, I don't want to write plus 0, and I don't need that negative, or the 1 there. So I'm just going to write minus a squared plus negative 11b squared. Remember, or perfectly fine to write minus a squared minus 11b squared. It doesn't matter which way you do that. Okay, so both of those answers are perfectly fine. Really, this answer's fine. Okay, so there's your review on adding and subtracting. So just remember to help yourself with the calculator after you've fixed your signs appropriately. If you keep struggling with positives and negatives, let that help you do that addition so you don't make those errors. So we'll have more videos on chapter 12.